like kissed a minor. Yeah, that's bad. We got that.
Where I want to start, because where it seems like Zoe's grooming start is like the idea of somebody interacting with their fans on such a personal level. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's unusual. It is very unusual. I mean, we have people who do reach out to us from doing this podcast and making the content we do, but we're not sitting there telling them all of our current demons in any way that we're not posting.
The kids that message us, I don't even know most of their names.
Yeah,
Like, I don't
I only
know.
know them by username most of the
Yeah.
time.
I was between the ages of 13 and 14 when we were actually like close friends, and she would have been 18 and 19. I met her in 2018 after I had joined her fandom and my page grew some traction. I started getting added to these group chats, and she just so happened to be in one of them, which she interacted in a lot, which landed me her phone number, her adding me back on Snapchat, and then us FaceTiming and texting privately.
Usually talk about Percy Jackson, and so there are some like people in the general Percy Jackson sphere, like in the cast or like siblings of some of like the main cast that follow fan accounts. And I don't think that those people did that like maliciously. They just wanted to like support this like young fan who was just talking to them. But it can get, things can become very weird in ways that you can't really fully control because you don't know how the other person who feels parasocially attached to you feels about you and like what they're going to do or what they're going to say.
These strange social media things happen to you since getting cast. There's like the fake Walker Twitter thing. There was your TikTok getting disabled. Wasn't someone trying to pretend to be your brother?
It's weird. I don't want to give the person that like hacked my brother's Snapchat account recognition or whatever, but he added my brother's new account on Snapchat and was like, "Hey, why are you trying to impersonate me?"
Also, just in general, the way that people use Snapchat right now reminds me of like AOL chat rooms.
Yes.
And the way that there's a lot of people that like impersonate. And it's really hard to know like who is who, like who is real or who's not, especially because recently there were a couple like there's updates accounts that people have where it's usually teenagers, and some of them they just post whenever there's like a, you know, an article about whatever it is about like the show or one of the actors or something, or they show up at a premiere, they post pictures from it, things like that. Some of them will message the whoever it is, like the cast, family and friends and teachers and anyone who's ever met them before to try to get them to send them pictures of them that no one else has ever seen because it's pictures from like their private life. And so there's a difference between them, and there were a couple accounts like the updates accounts that were out there, one for Walker and one for Charlie, that were both banned recently. And whenever those people tried to like get their accounts back, they would get their account back for like a day and then they would ban it again. And so to me, the reason why those accounts were being banned were because they were likely contacting a lot of people around that actor to try to get access to things. That's going to get your account banned for life. If you're going to do that long enough, they at some point have to take action because that's a very stressful thing to know that anyone who ever like touches you or could possibly have access to you is getting messages like that from people. That's just a very difficult situation to know that that's happening. But also they were posting a lot of pictures of them that likely they wouldn't want like necessarily out there.
Yeah.
And so those two things connected together, those accounts got banned. But because those accounts were already out there, like you can't take back all the things that those accounts were posting before they got banned. And there's a lot of other accounts that are still up that do the same sort of thing. All those pictures are out there, and so it's very easy now for people to pretend to be somebody who's famous in that way, especially if you're younger, because they can just use the pictures that the updates accounts have posted from stealing them from people who know them personally.
Mhm.
and just act like and impersonate them. And especially when you add AI to that,
Yeah.
it's very easy to do that. Um, on Walker doesn't post very much at all on social media. Like I wouldn't if I was him either. But on his social media like profiles, the only thing he has in his bio is on Instagram only account, saying like this is
Mhm.
the only account that I have. And on TikTok, I still don't have Snapchat and Be Real.
Mhm.
And the reason why he put that on there is because people were impersonating him and pretending to be him on those apps.
Twitter thing, I completely forgot about that. There's still like a lot of his posts are up. And so sometimes I just look back through them and I'm like, people really believe this? He'd respond to like fan art or something and be like, honored. And there's like two emojis for the O's and stuff. I was like, really?
I would
That's,
never do this. I love that that's the thing
I
you're
would
most
never
upset.
do
It's
that.
like impersonate me all you want, but at least do
At
it
least like do something
right.
I would do. Exactly. Like I wouldn't be mad if it was someone like that was cool impersonating me. I'd be like, go, keep going. If anything, please don't do that. By the way, anyone watching, but it's just like at least get like the personality right. You know what I mean?
And like, I told you this, but a little bit ago I saw some teenagers. I have no idea who these teenagers are, but they were doing like a podcast or a TV show or like a YouTube video, something like that, where they were filming themselves all talking. They asked like, "Have you ever met like Walker?" Because they've mentioned him enough, I guess, on their show in some way. And she was saying like, "No, I've never met him before, but I have chatted with him before online." And she didn't even say like what app she was talking about that she would talk to him on. But I
Mhm.
was looking through all of the comments, and all the comments were like Walker fans being like, "Oh, Walker lied about having a Snapchat. Like, see, Walker lied about having Snapchat. He's probably
Yeah.
on there somewhere." And some of them were like defending him, like he obviously said that because he didn't want fans to be like bothering him when he's on there. And but I when I saw that, I was like, was she actually talking to him?
Yeah.
Because if she never met him, how does she know? Like
Yeah.
how do you know if you actually talk to him? You could have been talking to somebody pretending to be him and thought that it was him, because if it's just Snapchat like chatting or whatever, sending pictures like that, it would be very easy to just use like AI and like filters and stuff to try to make a picture look like the person took it and like sent it to you. Um
Mhm. Well, I mean,
and
let's be real here. Sometimes it's not even convincing. It's just the
mhm.
euphoria of thinking I'm talking to somebody
Mhm.
famous
Yeah.
that like takes over your critical thinking sometimes. And I'm not going to say I don't understand it. I mean, all of us like the idea that maybe sometime we could meet our favorite celebrities, you know? And also the fact that they do have public facing social media. I think it's just kind of an understood thing that all of us realize most likely they have other accounts they go on. Most likely they have some sort of personal account where it's for maybe friends and family or something like
Yeah.
that.
There are people like scammers pretending to be people on TikTok that have like 20,000 subscribers that nobody knows. There's
Mhm.
definitely a ton of scammers out there pretending to be Walker, who's a child actor who's famous and is the head of like a huge franchise that a lot of people would know. There's definitely a lot of people doing that kind of thing. Not only with him, but a lot of the other, I'm sure a lot of the other cast too. And so it just leaves you in a weird place of like you don't want to like make your fans feel like something that make them think something is going to happen that never will.
Mhm.
But you also like can't control what the other people around you are doing. But it just
Yeah.
like who whenever somebody is like the star of whatever it is, everything always somehow goes back on them in some way. And so it's just a complicated like thing to try to figure out while you're also just a teenager.
Yeah.
um like the and of course because there's like no boundaries with fans, especially when they're trying to do this stuff. There is recently an interview with the kids when they were at something, I don't remember what it was anymore, oh, Disney Upfront that they last did together.
Mhm.
And one of the interviewers they were asking like, do you see like the edits and things like that that people make on TikTok about Percy Jackson? And when I saw that, the first thing I thought of was like, okay, I'm probably not going to try to use Walker's picture in videos anymore, because he talked about seeing them and getting like scared when he sees his own face suddenly in the middle of the video. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to use that for a little while, just in case he does see something. I don't want to scare the child. I want him to just be able to like watch Percy Jackson as a fan of it still, without like having to think about how he's in the spotlight of this thing. Just enjoy it for what it is. And so he was talking about how he gets like freaked out by seeing that sometimes. But in that conversation, the person interviewing them asked, like, "Oh, do you guys have like burner accounts?" I was like, "Oh God!" Now that they said that, people are gonna try to find those accounts somewhere. And like 4 days later, I saw somebody on Twitter saying that, "Oh, somebody on TikTok posted saying that they figured out all of their burner accounts, and they were like convinced that they figured out who they were." And I
Oh
was
my
like, oh
gosh.
my God. I'm like, I tried to like find the post just to try to find it to see like what they even said. And in the hopes that it wasn't there, I couldn't find it. And so I'm hoping that whoever posted it, that people reported it enough that it got taken down. Um,
Mhm.
but just overall, that's just a precarious situation. And whenever I see like the story with Zoe, where she's like this huge influencer that started befriending these like tiny little kids that were her fans, and like just dumping all of her emotions all over them, and grooming them and making them feel competitive with each other, so they wouldn't really talk to each other and realize what was really going on for a long time. And
Mhm.
it just reminds me of not only like child's like people on the internet that are kids that like the kind of stuff that we talk about because it's geared towards kids, but also like the kids that are in it.
Mhm.
Because just because kids are like famous doesn't mean that they stop being kids. They
Yeah.
can be used and exploited the same way that anyone else can, and I don't want that to happen to them at all. And so, um, and that when I see that stuff, I just worry that there's kids out there who think that they have talked to a famous person that have like used and abused them when it actually was somebody pretending to be them the entire time. Um,
Yeah.
and it's like, how do you prove that? Like, how do you prove that that wasn't you? Um,
Yeah,
it's
well,
it's
with
impossible.
celebrities, it's almost always catfishes, right? But in the case of Zoe Laverne and Colleen Ballinger and Gabby Hanna, they were literally actually talking to these people. And I feel
Hmm.
like the lesson here needs to be like, there's a reason celebrities are a little bit untouchable in a way, or they should be anyway. I know they're not as much in the age of social media, but it is that power imbalance. It is like a little weird that you, as a young fan, are talking to this person that you care about a lot that has no idea who you are.
Hmm.
It shouldn't be that way, you know? Like fans have avenues to meet their favorite people. It's usually like meet and greets and stuff like that, which I know can be hard to get to for people like Walker. You know, like it might be hard to get to a Disney event or something that he's at. But at the same time, those are the safe ways to talk to the people that you care about. Somebody like Zoe Laverne, who is a who's an actual influencer, they also have meet and greets sometimes. Not only through conventions, but like they, at least, but pre-pandemic, they used to host them. I'm sure there's some that still do. Um, but the idea of being in these group chats with people, whether they be like famous or internet famous, it's just not a safe place to be, first of all. And any person with more power than you like that, that is using you to vent their problems, probably needs a therapist and not you. Like
Hmm.
that's really the bottom line. Like Colleen Ballinger should not have been talking about her divorce with like 13-year-old fans. Zoe Laverne should not have been talking about sex and getting drunk in front of people. Like, and that's not even going into detail of what she did with Connor. But like those types of things are usually kept from kids for a reason. You know, with my own son, the only social media he has access to that I don't monitor a lot is YouTube, and that's because I know which YouTube channels he watches. Like, theoretically, I could go on my phone. I'm logged into his YouTube account too. I could switch accounts and go and look and see where is he commenting, what is he watching. He knows that. He knows that I
Hmm.
have that power. He knows that, like, any sort of messaging he has. I can do that if I really wanted to. but we've created an environment where we trust each other that, like, I don't feel the need to do that on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I don't know. The idea that you're having these secret chats that you have to hide from your parents, that you have to, like, I don't know, like, there's so much about the Zoe Laverne thing